it was, you 52, you ain't trying to do all that shit. My fucking 12-year-old son was motherfucking me the whole time. Dad, what's that button right there? Jesus. He been using my Discord for 4 years, bro. I said, hey, man, what the fuck is all this Minecraft shit? He's like, Dad, I use your Discord. Mom won't let me have one. Like, well, fuck, Sarah, like, what the fuck is the difference if he's using mine or he has his own? She said, I don't know. I just didn't want him to have one. Jesus.
All right. So we're live on YouTube. Time meow. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the War Room. This is another live stream episode. We just wanted to jump on here and talk about the way forward, right? Because we've been discussing on our group thread and behind closed doors, like this is what we as military leaders do, right? We lead through crisis. So we just wanted to jump on here, guys, and talk about the aftermath of the attempted assassination, and then just have conversation about how we move forward as a nation. Before we jump into that, Ben, I'm just curious about your take since you weren't on the live stream with us as it relates to what's currently going on.
Yeah, well, I think obviously for anyone who saw what's happening, the first thing I want to say is that, this type of political violence, political assassination is a form of tyranny, in my opinion. So it's aimed at reducing the choices, taking away the choices that citizens can have. And so this isn't okay. It's not good. I've just seen so many crazy things where people are so callous and hardened, taken in by all the rhetoric and all the kind of, hard banging politics that's going on. I mean, that's what makes our country great again, too, is that we have democracy where people can have, competition within the system and not do things like this. And so the backlash of things that I've seen just from both sides and a lot of the conspiracy theories flying around. And the bottom line is, I just want to say, first of all, that this isn't good. This isn't okay, no matter what rhetoric is being spit around. We had an assassination attempt of an elected president, former president. And I'm just seeing that now justifications, rationalization for why this is okay. And I keep seeing this out there. And I would say the same thing if we're on the other side as well, too. I would say that's not okay. This is where we screw ourselves, we screw our democracy, and where freedom and choices start being taken away. So if half the country is looking to elect this man, Donald Trump, and that choice is taken away, then what? So I just think, I'm hoping this is a lone actor operating like this and not some broader thing, which is what I think it is. I think that's what I think it is personally right now, based on what I've seen. But that's my initial take on it, is just, and seeing the frankly disgusting rationalization from people that have a video game mentality and think this is almost like a video game, or it's like a movie, and it's not real life. So that's my initial take on
it. So Aaron, what are your thoughts as far as aftermath? I know they had the RNC convention. He officially was named the nominee. He picked his VP, former Marine, so Ben will be proud of that.
But former Ohio guy, Jake's going to hate it, but that's why Ohio's better than Michigan. What's up?
What are your thoughts, Aaron?
So first of all, man, I can't say enough about JD Vance. For you guys who are not tracking JD Vance, like, this was not a safe pick from Trump. This is an ideological pick from Trump. So JD Vance, for you guys that aren't tracking, congressman or congressman from Ohio, 39 years of age, enlisted after 2001, went in the Marines. He finished his undergraduate in 2 years from the Ohio State University. He went to Yale Law. The guy's an absolute bulldog. He doubles down on a lot of what Trump is. Trumpism as it was, right? Like, these things that Trump has kind of as a platform, there was really no way forward. There was nobody as a standard bearer that would take what Trumpism is or what that thing is and move it forward. JD Vance is that guy. He is absolutely going to eat Kamala Harris's lunch anytime that they step on a stage and they debate. I think that was a great pick for VP for a number of different reasons, because again, President Trump, and two things here can be true at the same time. JD Vance, first of all, if you haven't seen Hillbilly Elegy or read the book, it's absolutely fantastic. It's probably one of the better looks at blue collar American workers in the Midwest that I've ever seen in my entire life. It's absolutely fantastic, and he expounds really well on his economic points in there as well. But he was an ever Trump guy. He, in 2016. He felt completely different about Trump. He called him cultural heroin. He said that he might be America's Hitler. He said all these things, and that's what the left is going to seize on. but it actually speaks to Trump's character and to JD Vance's character that they've seen a whole bunch of facts and then they change their viewpoint and they're ideologically flexible enough to go, I've been presented with facts and I feel differently now. So, on the VP pick, man, Ohio guy, obviously I'm going to back an Ohio guy, but JD Vance has been absolutely great as a fun little twist too. Vivek Ramaswamy is also an Ohio guy. So if JD Vance moves up to be VP, we put Vivek in Ohio, we start making some moves. Tucker, press secretary, no big deal. It'd be hilarious. But the VP pick was great, right? The RNC, I think, Trump walking into the RNC on his own 2 feet, boy, that guy looks different. That guy looks humble. That guy looks happy to be alive. That guy looks like a fighter. That guy looks like somebody that took a bullet for America. Now he's trying to go forward. And by the way, he rewrote his entire speech. He's going to speak Thursday night at the RNC. He's already been nominated. He's got his VP. He's going to go unity. He is going to go while Joe Biden and the Biden administration have turned up the rhetoric yet again. It took them about 72 hours to go back to violent MAGA extremism, to go back to the left is going to seize on JD Vance. He's very, very ideologically hardliner, right? On his views on abortion, his views on, American interventionism overseas, his views on national defense, his views on economics. He is a very hardline guy, and they're going to seize on that because it's an attack for him. They can't attack Trump at this point. The guy is absolutely, literally bulletproof at this point. He's going to go to unity tomorrow night, and that is going to be the message. Wait until you see the message tomorrow night. I always told you I was in their way, them getting to you. This proves it, but I want to unify the nation. I think that's going to be an important message. I have hope because, again, no matter how black-pilled or how cynical I am, I have hope that President Trump is going to stand up. He's going to raise that fist in his air like the iconic photo that got taken of him just after the shooting, where he said, wait, fight ×3. Man, if that isn't the American spirit, if that's not the independent American values that we espouse and that we want to be like, I don't know what is. And I think he crushes it at the RNC tomorrow and moves forward. And I think, unfortunately, the Dems, the left or everybody of that ilk have really painted themselves into a corner. You can't call somebody literally Hitler for 9 years. You can't put him in jail and then indict him and then impeach him and then charge him with, the Jack Smith documents case was completely dropped thanks to presidential immunity being gone. You can't stand up in front of everybody, in front of a blood red backdrop with Marines behind you and tell people for 8 years that he is a literal threat to democracy. That's the central theme of their campaign. They don't have another theme. They can't run on record. They can't run on culture issues. They had to run on Trump as a terrible person, literally Hitler. So it feels a little bit disingenuous at this point for the Biden admin to go, we need to turn the rhetoric down. It didn't even take you 2 days. He went on an interview with Lester Holt and called him a threat to democracy. And Karine Jean-Pierre said, well, no, we're not going to stop calling him a threat to democracy. We're not going to turn the rhetoric down. So, I think for the way forward, it's important right now. I often look to see who is saying what in these times. I want to see who's saying what and what are they saying in the moment, because that tells you who they really are, right? President Biden said, hey, we got to turn the rhetoric down, immediately turned around and called him a MAGA extremist and a threat to democracy. Trump, in the meantime, said, I'm thankful to be alive. I love this country. I want to do the best for you. I want to include people that you wouldn't normally include at the RNC. I want to put out a statement thanking the people that, quite honestly, and I'm sure we'll get to the Secret Service actions and all the problems there, but he thanked them. He thanked local law enforcement. And now he's going to move on. And if he blows this speech out of the water tomorrow night, which I think he is going to wait for the sound bites of that speech, calling for unity, calling for a return to normal American values, man, I think that's the way forward.
If I could jump in real quick,
go ahead.
Because you inspired a lot of great things, but I think that I think the important thing to take away right here, and this is something we discussed before the show too, is that I think most Americans are center left, center right. Okay, the extremists on both sides that are rationalizing this, they just have the loudest voices. They have the loudest voices. They're chattering away, getting attention more and more and more. And really, what I want people to do is not let this sway what you think. I don't care whether you're, Democrat, Republican, independent, whatever you are. Don't let the extremists and, frankly, those that are rationalizing things that would undo who we are as a country, don't let that sway you. You need to think for yourself, think critically. A lot of things Aaron said are spot on. And just think, is this true, right? You have to say, okay, the things they're saying about Trump, is it true? the things that others are saying about Biden and the Democrats. Is that true? Okay.
Mhm.
Or are we all Americans who really want a better way forward? We have different means and strategies to go there. And I think the important thing is that, you choose what you think is right. You choose what you think is right. Don't be swayed by the mob and by the masses and by your emotions carrying you away and people pressuring you so you're afraid to even say who you support. That's where we get into crazy town to me, is that, again, America is about freedom and against tyranny. We're about having our right to free speech, our right to choose, all of those things. And so when you start feeling that people are pressuring you to be a certain way or do a certain thing, out of your fear of not belonging anymore. I mean, I just think it's out there. I know it's out there, but look at where the extremists are. Look at what the radical right, radical left, all of that, and really think critically about what's being put out there. That's all I want to add in there.
No, it's great.
Jake, how do we move forward after all of this?
So I think really after, just being in where we're at for the last whatever days, 5 days, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I already put it past me. I stopped thinking about it. I kept moving. Right. Trump got shot, lost a piece of his ear. He got Mike Tyson basically. So it is what it is, right? Like
don't put that evil on Evander Holyfield like that.
hey
Come on,
man,
man.
listen.
Come on,
Him
dude.
and Evander Holyfield are brothers now.
He got Evander Holyfield. He didn't get Tyson.
Yeah, I said I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry.
I said I'm sorry. I broke my back.
Ear snuck off. Okay, so
right.
I think the country avoided a tragedy, and I'm just gonna say this: we've all probably been in a car crash, and you get out of the car crash, and you're like, "Oh my God!" Right? Like I flipped the car upside down off a cliff into a tree, 15 feet off the ground, hanging in a tree in a car. Right? I walked away from it, and I said, "Oh my God, I got to drive better. I got to be safer." But at the end of the day, like I'm going to win a state title in wrestling in 3 weeks, and I can't worry about that car crash, right? Like, I think you got to move on. There's times in life, man, where you just got to say, whew, dodge the bullet, right? In the literal sense,
yeah.
I dodged the bullet. Okay.
We are one head move. I don't know if you've seen, some of the diagrams of how that bullet traveled and how it hit, but as he looked at that, as he took that one head movement to his left to check, or is it left? Yeah, to his left to look at the graph, and that's what he was doing. There was a teleprompter. And he said, "Let me see that. Look." That's when that first shot breaks. His head is turned at a 45-degree angle or straight on as he was talking to somebody, and this is a different conversation. We're talking about a funeral for a president of the United States of America.
Absolutely. Which I mean, I hate to say it, but like sometimes that's how it is, right? Like,
yeah, millimeters from death all the time, and I think we've all experienced that.
All
right?
of us have had a jump where you were like, you landed on the ground and you like, right? Like,
yep.
You know what? I'm gonna go home.
But you don't. Hey, but I will say, and that's a great analogy, and I tell people all the time, as part of my military career as a military free fall jump master, when I was teaching students, or when I had an operator that had a cutaway or that had a scary jump, what was the first thing that you did? You got him in a chute, you got right back up in the air.
Get him back up there.
Get back on the horse.
Dude, you put a chute on. I don't care. I'm going to give you a smaller chute. You're not jumping equipment. You can jump in a t-shirt if you want. We're going to get up there. You and I are going to fall flat and happy. You're going to throw out at the prescribed altitude. You're going to land on the target. You got to get back into it. You can't, I have seen some people like, oh, this is it. It's, it's the end. It's all this other stuff. And they're really talking about some things like, no, you actually have to engage more. You actually have to figure out what went wrong and then go re-engage immediately in order to get over these problems that we're having right here.
Now, go ahead, Jake.
I was just gonna say, like my big thing is, listening to Aaron, who might be, soul crates, my guy Socrates, right? Like that's my dude over there, Aaron. So one of the things that I liked in the nomination for vice president, man, that JD don't look like a damn politician, right? Like he's not. And the thing that kind of brightened my eyes a little bit was like you could see him as a president in 4 years, right? Whereas with the Biden administration, I'm not banging on Biden administration, Sleepy Joe, dude don't know where he's at. But I look at the vice president in a million years, I don't want her running anything. I don't want her taking my kids to camp in the morning.
She's the border czar. How has that been going? She's in charge of the border.
Yeah, so in my opinion, for the last, for the last 4 years, we've had political just just call it dirt, right? Just muddy, like, oh, what is that? Like you're looking at the people.
Inefficiency or
Yeah, like you're looking at everybody like, what do we got here, man? Like this is the people. Like, what are we doing?
yeah.
And now with Trump, Trump's gonna win. I don't care. I don't care what you say. He's gonna win. And now you're gonna have a vice president that you can be like, okay, all right, I can see this dude being a president, right? And I know he's kind of hard line, but hell, I don't care. As long as he's a good dude, I'm good with it.
He's only been in Congress since 2023. So imagine he's going like that's how smart and how politically adept JD Vance is. So imagine he gets in there as vice president. I'm telling you, he's going to run through this debate. Kamala Harris's team has already said they're going to debate. That is going to be a dumpster fire. That is somebody's going there should be a mercy rule. They should be able to turn it off halfway through if it gets bad enough. And I'm not joking. He's an absolute bulldog. But if you watch him through his chance to govern at the highest level, he's a young dude. We're talking about a 45-year-old guy being ready at this next term. Like, okay, well, now we're talking about a Republican dynasty where we can actually start making some effects. We need a couple. It would be nice to have conservatives making conservative policies for America for more than 4 years in a row. And it'd be even nicer if they weren't consistently hamstrung by, Senate and, House Dems. That would be super good. But when you look at JD Vance, he really is that future guy. DeSantis, I thought was great. I like JD Vance more than I like DeSantis. And I think political timing is a big thing. If you look at Chris Christie, it was all timing with why he never had a presidential run. DeSantis, same sort of thing. I think DeSantis had one shot to make it. I think this was it. And I think he's a great governor of Florida. But when you look at the bench, and Jake, great explanation and great look at the bench is what we're talking. Like, who's up next for the Dems? You got Gavin Newsom and who? Pete Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer, Kathy Hochul, like all those people poll underwater. They've terrible governance behind them. JD Vance has probably the best thing you can have in politics, which is no record. He's got nothing before 2023. He can only go up.
They're gonna have to go. I'm gonna tell you where they're gonna go. They're gonna have to go to the Rock. Like they're gonna have to go to the Rock.
They're gonna go to Michelle. They're gonna go to Michelle Obama.
I understand that, right? Like. Okay, Aaron said Michelle Obama, right? Like they're gonna have to go to somebody that's real, right? Because they can't keep putting these clown characters up there because like everybody's like, oh, Gavin Newsom. Like what? That dude's a clown, right? Like the clown is coming after everybody's name that the Dems throw up there is clown, right? Like Kamala Harris. I almost dropped the M word. I almost dropped the M word. I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to be more politically correct and not talk about monkeys on this damn channel, okay? I can't do it. I apologize right now. I almost dropped it. But
we need a shot collar. Wow. We need a shot collar that has a Wi-Fi connection that we can just shot. And you know what? I'm giving it to Ben.
Because I gotta say, thank you. I gotta say something here. So let's talk about anybody was watching on CNN or whatever, the coverage of the RNC, and these guys, I think they blew it. If you're listening, you blew it because you had Amber Rose on there. This is groundbreaking, game-changing influencer on there for the youth, flipping sides, giving a big speech. And what do? She's in the background talking. They're like, talking over her the whole time. And then what do? Full attention on the Teamster Union guy who, I don't know what direction he was going in. It was terrible. He was talking about, he was attacking the elite, attacking leadership. You didn't know if he was a Democrat or Republican. I don't know what. Honestly, if you watch Trump's face during his speech, it was a little concerning, a little funny because he was looking at him like, what is he saying right now? Now, Amber Rose, she's got 23 million Instagram followers for a reason, right? And she used to be a hardcore Democrat, never Trumper the whole thing, attacking him and flipped. And I just think that, I just wanted to say, I was so disappointed in the coverage that they didn't let that play out so people at home could watch it. It was unbelievable if anybody saw that. But I guess seeing some of it, hearing some of it was, it's pretty powerful stuff, what she was saying. So
I'm way more conservative than you. I completely disagree on a personal standpoint from Amber Rose being the face of that. There's a million other people you could have picked other than a porn star. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, she's got a
Quit
big following.
hating, Aaron. Quit hating.
I know. So, there's two things, right? There's personally how I feel, and then how I feel for a platform or how I would legislate. Right?
Is that what she is? Is that what she is? Is she a porn star? I have no idea.
Bro, tell me, come on, man. Cut the top off Amber Rose. Yeah, bro.
Wait a minute.
That's why people had issue with it.
Hey, wait a minute, Aaron. Don't let Ben fucking snow you. That dude got Pornhub teed up and next video. He ain't kidding nobody.
The point is as a conservative guy, like I had real issues with like hey, like who.
Oh wait, I just got a message from her right here. That works.
Yeah, like I had an issue with Harmeet Dillon singing the Sikh the Sikh prayer at the beginning too, because I mean it looked like pandering from the outside looking in. Like that was the big.
I didn't see that.
Hey, who are we pandering to? Like we opened up with a Sikh prayer sung by Harmeet Dillon. Harmeet Dillon's a good person.
I think like you're right. Pandering is the negative effect of it, but opening the tent, widening the tent, making it bigger. That's. I mean, I think Trump is wise to do it. I think the Republicans are wise to show like, hey, we're not who they say we are.
The Republicans are not wise. The Republicans are a shit show, I will say. But personally, I felt one way, but politically speaking, yes, I agree with
you. The strategy. I'm saying the strategy.
Okay, I got it. Yeah. Personally, I'm like, man, that is not who I want as my conservative values to open up the Republican National Convention. It's just not. But like, hey, open the tent up and get all of these people in. If Amber Rose and Lil Wayne and 50 Cent and some of these other, I'm blanking on his name, Chris Pratt. If some of these other huge following guys, and I'm part of the movement for Vote for America, there were 70 influencers that were there. Like I'm happy to be a part to get you to vote, and I hope you vote for conservative values. Go to vote the number 4america.org and start the process. You're going to hear me talk about it a ton because I think it's important. I do want to open the tent, but again, we have to make our bedrock somewhere. We have to make we have to draw a line somewhere. And for me personally, that was a little bit over the line, but we're going to deal with it.
Got it. But I was disappointed. Like here she is up there, and they were just saying how great she was, and they're like, okay, let's go to her. But wait a minute, and they just talked over.
And they just cut away, right?
And then they have this boring. I mean, I know maybe I'm not as deep, but I just thought, the Teamster Union guy. It was just so bad for TV.
The reason that they're showing them is because the unions are almost 100% controlled by the Dems.
Right.
There are like union employment and union backing is not a thing. I'll tell you what, the Teamsters back JD Vance. That's why they were there. That's why they were sitting next to President Trump. That was a overt sign. Like, hey, we're starting to take some of these special interest groups. And again, do I agree with it from a purely ethical standpoint that we have these massive unions that lobby for their specific interests through the government? Absolutely not. I don't. For the opening the tent up and taking this election because I think it's that important. Great, show the Teamster guy. Don't do it while Amber Rose is speaking.
Right.
And by the way, cut the top off Amber Rose. I think that's a 2 Chainz bite. I think that's a 2 Chainz bite. Tawheed Epps is that guy's real name.
Now, going forward. Now, you guys mentioned the bench on the Democrat side. Going forward, because they still have to have their convention, do you guys see them swapping out and putting in a new team, or are they just going to accept this as defeat and just let Joe ride it out? Because there's no way that they win against Trump. You think they're just going to use Joe as a sacrificial lamb, or they're going to try to swap him out and try to see this thing to the end?
So let me say this, Jay. Let me ask a question to everybody, right? Who do they swap him out with? And I know what Aaron's gonna say. Like in my mind, as just a regular Mark 1 motto 52-year-old dude, the only person that I would even consider voting for on the Dem side would be if Michelle Obama ran. But I did a bunch of research and she got to go raise, I don't know, $500 million overnight, which she probably could, right? Like, it'll be really hard, but they can't take the campaign funds from Mad Joe and give them to her. So if they swap somebody out now on 17 July, like, they got 3 months to really, like, there's a hole money-wise. So, like, it's a money issue also.
Well, it's a campaign thing too. Like campaigns go downhill. They don't go uphill, right? You get steam and you start getting like more people come to your rallies and whatever. Starting from zero with 90 days out, that's not the preferred method, right? Like there's no way that they're going to bite off on that sort of, the timeline is so short too.
Yeah, I don't see them being able to make a change, Jay, right? Like in that whole, like the Dems, but I love, like, who do you think, Aaron? Like Ben, like, do you think the Dems, like, it's 30, like, you got 3 months. Like, this isn't like, if you had 9 months, you might be able to pull a rabbit out of your, but 3 months.
I mean, we both know that the Republicans are probably, you know, they're happy if Joe Biden stays where he is, right where
That's
he
what we
is.
want. I'll tell you straight up.
Yep.
That is that's the matchup you want. Leave Joe Biden.
Right.
No, absolutely not. There's one rule in politics. When your political opponent is committing suicide, you let them. You stay out of the way.
Yes.
When they are screwing up their platform, you just get out of the way. Stay out of the news, no dumb tweets. You just step back and you let them self-implode, which is kind of what we're watching now. And to his credit, Trump is actually doing a good job of just staying out of the way. Let it be about Joe Biden. Let it be about
He's not taking any bait anywhere to attack anything, because he knows if he takes the unity stance right now, he's going to get defectors that are going to come over, and, you know, they're going to be like, okay, this guy, just like we're all saying, this is common sense, right? How much can you drag him through the mud, you know, put him on trial, investigate him, say he's the devil, say he's Hitler, all these things, shoot him. And you know, at what point do we say, okay, you know, I mean, this guy, his legitimacy is through the roof right now after getting shot and still showing up, not falling apart. Because we all know it's a traumatic event. When people are shooting at you, you know, in the moment, you might have adrenaline, but later it starts messing with you. Who else is out there? You know, that just happened. What, you know, you start really thinking. And I think he's a guy that really seeks approval, obviously, through all the ratings and things like that. You know, just from his TV career, so on and so forth. So I think it deeply impacts him when he realizes that someone's out there that hates me that much, that would try to eliminate me, try to kill me. And so what I'm saying is that, you know, all these things reflect on the character of the man. So no one's perfect. Everyone has garbage. No one is perfect in this world. And so the good thing about him, in my opinion, again, is that it's all out there. It's been investigated, it's been exposed. Yeah. Can we just get to it now? Get to the argument and the merits of the person, you know, the merits of their leadership and what they're going to do, you know? And so there's no question of his courage and his character and all those things, you know, I mean, so, you know, I just think that the way forward, you have to, again, take a look at what is best for the country, who's going to do the best job. And that's it. But I think leaving Joe Biden in place is what they're all hoping for.
Well, yeah, for the Dems, the problem is the bench, right? The problem is the bench and the optics, because right now the administration, and we have felt like, you know, Jake, you mentioned earlier, this administration feels disjointed. It feels like they're going off on a whole bunch of other things. You know, Biden stood up at a rally at Nevada and said that he was going to cap rent increases 5% nationwide. That is ridiculous. That is not constitutionally. He cannot do that. And then number two, like rent control has failed in every single place that it's ever been used. I mean, like half of New York City burned down in the 1970s because the rent control thing led people to literally set their own houses on fire to get insurance. Like that's what happened to rent control. Like rent control does not work. So when you look at the disjointed way about how they go about it, and you start thinking, okay, well, who's next? You're like, okay, well, you know, before the super delegates, because the Democratic Party does stuff weird. It's not a real primary like the Republicans do, right? Super delegates have all this power and they basically just anoint a president. That's what happened. They basically undermined Bernie Sanders and completely just absolutely burned him to the ground for Hillary in 2016. It's because of the super delegate process, right? So when you start looking at who we're going to replace him with, number one, you have to look for Kamala Harris, because it's too far gone. Joe Biden's already collected too much money. It has to be a Biden-Harris ticket for them to keep any of the money that they've raised. So the number one, the most pragmatic thing is like, well, we're going to put Harris out there. Well, she pulls it underwater. She pulls it 0 or -%. She's unlikable as a person. It's not misogynistic of me to say that. It's not racist of me to say that. She is a cackling woman that has a record that is absolutely abhorrent. She got to where she was by basically sleeping with a married dude, the mayor, Willie Green, out in San Francisco. That's how she came to her fame. Like it just is the fact of the matter. So like when you look at that, you look at who are they going to put in as the VP. They look at Newsom, they look at Pete Buttigieg. There's a couple other names that come out here. Like that's untenable. So then you start playing the game of like, okay, well, let's say we just jettison all that money and we pick somebody else off the sidelines, and they're like, who could possibly beat Trump? I don't think anybody could beat Trump at this point. I think short of something even more absolutely crazy happening, like, you know, another terrorist attack, some sort of other thing, you know, that happens that affects this election in a way that we couldn't possibly foresee. Or, you know, if Joe Biden does have to step down and they admit that he is unfit to run, despite what he is saying now, they just don't have a bench. They don't have anybody to put up there that is going to be number one, that's going to be able to match Trump's cult of personality, right? Like the second that you put him up there and it opens up attacks for, you know, the RNC starts opening up their own attacks, because they're going to, it's politics. It's a messy business. I'll tell you what, man, it's just, they're really in an unwinnable scenario. And the question is, can the RNC, can Trump Vance stay out of their own way, let the Dems self-implode, and then capitalize on the unity message and drive forward?
That's it. You know, it's funny. I was looking at a Times article, a New York Times article, not long ago, and they were talking about this deep and talented bench the Democrats have, and I didn't recognize a single name.
It's laughable,
okay,
right?
Maybe that shows my yeah, right. That maybe it shows that how much I don't know about politics, but which I think is a good thing. But you know, I didn't recognize a single name. And then you look on the Republican side, you've got these senators and former presidential candidates that are just stacked. People who have so much experience, and whether they become a president or not, it's more about in the system how they can actually administrate and how they can lead and how they can law make and do all these things. And the people on the side in this Times article, I'd never even heard of any of them.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they're not good. It's just, I mean, like you said, the kind of the star power is totally on the Republican side now.
Well, and just look at the VP conversation on the Republican side. We're talking about Marco Rubio, we're talking about Jim Jordan, we're talking about JD Vance, we're talking about Byron Donalds, we're talking about Tim Scott. Like, all of those are good candidates. And talking about DeSantis, like, holy crap, what a heavy hitter of people that actually governed really well, that are really smart, that are really capable. And you can't do that on the other. What are you going to do? Put AOC in there? Put Ilhan Omar? Like, who are you going to put? Like, people that get a lot of clicks, but those people are terrible at their given duty, which is governance. There is nobody that's governing well on that side of it. So it's a real problem.
Yeah. We'll transition into the Secret Service, like you mentioned earlier, Aaron. Now, we just talked about the psyche of an individual that gets shot at. Some of us love it. That's what makes us sociopath, right? Like, it is what it is, right? But for a regular individual, minus Jake doesn't count.
Jake does not count, right? Thank you. I appreciate that. Good. Yeah, Jake, you were not involved in this. We talking regular people, homie.
Now, getting shot. As
you said Secret Service, big guys went like this.
Getting shot does something to a person, right? So as it relates to soon-to-be President Trump, we know how much he loves being out in the public space. He loves his rallies. How do you think that's going to change going forward? And how do you think the Secret Service is going to, I guess, reform themselves or reshape themselves to make sure like an incident like this doesn't happen again? We'll start with you, Aaron.
So here's the problem. Back in the day, we had a person scale the fence of the White House with a knife. The head of the Secret Service resigned after that. Nobody got hurt. Your detail, and again, I'm trying desperately not to get into the conspiratorial side of this. The Secret Service failed. Okay. Joe Biden had an event in the same, roughly in the same area. They devoted a lot of resources to Joe Biden and not a lot of resources to Trump. Trump had been asking for increased Secret Service for, months, weeks, if not months. Denied. There were Congressmen, Massey, put forth a bill saying that, if you're a convicted felon, you shouldn't be able to have Secret Service. Oh, that's weird. You did that after Trump was indicted. These things, right? The problem here is that the degradation of trust, and it's for two reasons. Number one, if you don't think that our adversaries are licking their chops right now, because the Secret Service is supposed to be it. Like, not only are they going to shield the president from bullets, but they're going to kill you for it. They're professional. They're Loctite in what they do. Their security is good. If you look at Ronald Reagan, right? Look at the Secret Service response of Ronald Reagan versus President Trump. Reagan was shot. He was shielded, protected, moved, and off the X in like 1.7 seconds. Okay. Contrast that with what we just saw. When you have the Secret Service, what's her name? Let's see. Kathy, was it Kathy? Oh, Kimberly Cheadle. Kimberly Cheadle is the security head. She was prior to her job as the United States Secret Service, head. She was the head of security for Pepsi. Joe Biden liked her a lot, pushed her in the nomination process. That's how she got her job. For her to sit down and go, well, we didn't have snipers on that roof because it was too sloped, and no, I'm not resigning.
Aaron, that's not fast, juicy suspender girl, is it?
No. That's the actual Secret Service agent that was on.
Oh, that's the one who couldn't get her weapon back in the holster, right?
Dude, she threw it. There's video of one of the Secret Service agents. Trump's shoes like fell off, and you can see her throw her pistol and the shoe at the same time. Like we're going to talk about like the on the X stuff.
Ready. I'm ready. I'm just over here waiting because I want to like.
Let me button it up. So here's the thing. The problem with this right now is that the other thing that this administration has done is I do not trust any of these entities now. The FBI is going to investigate themselves in this to see if there was any wrongdoing. The CIA is going to investigate themselves to see if there's any wrongdoing. The U.S. Secret Service is investigating themselves. Mayorkas is the head of Homeland Security. He's going to be having an investigation of the thing that he oversees. That's why we don't trust you. When you see all of these things, and when you can look at a situation that is absolutely such a failure from the advanced teams to the teams on the ground to the aftermath to the statements that we're putting out, this was just a failure in whatever. We are at such a bad point in American politics and American culture that you force people less than 24 hours later to immediately go, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. This has got to be an inside job, because it was so incompetent, and it starts at the top. The fact that Kimberly Cheadle was like, nope, I'm not resigning. I was enraged by that.
Let me say this, Aaron. I just want everybody that's listening to understand how easy it is to kill one person. Okay. I want people to understand that, like, Jay talked about Iran and all the other conspiracy theories out there. I'm going to tell you right now, to kill one person is very easy. It's very easy. And a trained sniper, anything inside of 200 yards is no different than going to the refrigerator, getting a beer, opening a beer, drinking a beer. Like, it's that easy, okay? And so I kind of looked at, dovetailing off what you're saying, Aaron, like the amount of incompetency, the amount of just sheer, utter, like, this can't be real. Like, this is unbelievable.
Right.
If anybody real was involved, i.e. JFK, my man's head would have been split open from 4 different directions, okay? Now, even with all the incompetence, our guy still almost pulled it off, because killing one person is that easy, right? I tell everybody, like, humans are soft targets. They're very easy to kill. They're random individual in America. I don't care if they got a security detail. Wynn was running around with security detail. I know there's security detail. If someone paid me 3, 4, let's just say $40 million to kill him, that's an easy pull off, bro. I'm not, I might blow up his whole city block. That's an easy pull off. Park a semi truck with gasoline in front of his house and level the city block, right? Like, that's the part that nobody understands. Like, we're all talking about all this conspiracy theory and these angles and all this other stuff. And at the end of the day, like, if it was real, Trump would probably be dead.
Along with probably about 100 other people too, right? If it were a real terror group doing it, or Pablo Escobar or someone like that, they would half the event would have been destroyed for one person. I think we're really lucky, and I don't know what kind of optic he was using on the weapon, but
it was non-magnified. I don't believe it was I don't want to use a brand name, but it was a reflex red dot.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, how lucky are we? This is an untrained sniper. Any one of us with a regular service, sniper, standard issue, bolt action, not even semi-automatic, with a good optic on it, good glass, that's a done deal. Easy.
Right. Ben, let's back that up. 130. Everyone on this channel would canoe his ass wide open with iron sights on the M4, and we wouldn't. I mean, shit, it wouldn't have been a big deal. 130 iron sights.
We're 1 minute. Yeah. Target? My friends and I were joking. So I'm going to Texas to do some TCCC training for a specific unit, and we were joking like it's an open range where we're going. So we're like, oh yeah, bring your personal. I was joking with my friends, like, with a hold off, I'm actually going to see if I can put a couple 9mm rounds from 130 meters away. It's a little bit of a hold, but I'm betting out of 5 or 6 shots, I bet I can put 1 or 2 of those, even with a hold off, into the man-sized target.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Imagine if he had a deer hunting rifle with glass.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because here's the thing: is that
just a 22 LR
with his target being this big, to all of a sudden it's this big, and the movement doesn't look so bad anymore. You can keep that. You can keep your reticle, keep everything right in the center of that moving target. So I'm just saying that I knew right away. I said he couldn't be using glass on that at that distance, and
And it speaks to really what we're talking about, which is the threat of like, the incompetence. All of us here, like I am not one of those veteran dudes that's going to sit here and pretend to you like I'm a ballistic expert. I'm not a sniper. I've gone through a minimum amount of long engagement training. Like I know just enough to dial in dope, and I'm a good enough mechanical shooter that I'm a good shot when I'm in the right position.
Right.
I can't make my own win calls. I'm not pretending to be that guy, because I'm not. Like that's not what I do, or what I am. But when we look at this objectively, and you're like, the building was within 130 meters. It was the only high ground from the stage. There's a very telling picture from behind Trump at the rally, and you can see the building clearly in the line of sight there. Everybody in the world knows, hey, there should be teams on that building, and they were inside of the building.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like to look, and then again, Kimberly
building,
too.
Aaron. They were just drinking coffee inside the building. The snipers on. Hey man, y'all hear something on the roof?
It was you know why? Is because
people were yelling, right? People were yelling for like 3 minutes, saying like, "There's someone up, there's someone up." And that crazy.
But Kimberly, they were like, "How did you not secure this?" And she was like, "Well, the roof was too sloped." And the sniper team was like, "Yeah, it was like really hot out, and like the roof was too sloped."
I mean, yeah, she's got it. Whoever was the on-site commander needs to be gone.
Everybody needs to be gone.
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone needs their Secret Service shit pulled. They need to go find another job delivering the mail for the UPS.
Well, I got news for you. If it doesn't happen now, wait.
It will.
January.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah,
hey,
like
find a new house, and that's fine. I think that's what's going on.
Listen, there is a part of me, and again, I am a vindictive person. Fuck around and find out. Stupid games have stupid prizes. I am hoping for the day that President Trump takes office, and I want to see firings. I want to see arrests. I want to see people frog walked out.
I'm gonna look up in Vegas and see if there's any odds on people getting fired when Trump takes over.
I'll make the bet for you.
Like,
I'll go. Hey, there's a casino right here, homie. There's listen. You tell me what you want to bet on. I'll go make a prop bet right now.
So now going forward, again, as much as I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, do you guys see this being,
come on, look at the smile.
Do you guys see this being the last? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm fucking terrified of what's next. Like, I want us to unify, but I also know how dangerous it is to start normalizing these type of activities. We see it doing the school shootings. Now they don't even fucking put that shit on television anymore. It just happens, and everybody just goes on about their day as if it's nothing.
Right.
Now let
me say this, Jay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing. All right. And the reason I'm going to say that is I don't want to turn a school shooting into a public event where the shooter has become a celebrity.
Yeah.
So I understand like there's an angle to that. Like, we're not going to pub you up if you go do a school shooting, right? Like, there's no glamour in it. So I just want to throw that little 2 cents in.
Yeah.
Having Baldy right down the road, like, I think your whole family should be killed. Like, you go do some dumb shit, they should lynch your whole family up on a tree right outside the school and let you hang there until you rot.
Yeah. But now with this attempt on the president's life by a 20-year-old, my biggest fear is whoever is behind this, and I'm sure there's somebody behind it, they're not done, and they're going to keep trying, right?
I think it's like the I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think it's like the Osama bin Ladens of the world, right? Like, the spiritual influencer, the one who's spitting out the rhetoric, and that they're just going to crank it up more. So that's how. So one of the things with the domestic terror groups and the lone wolf operations is that there's no network, there's no cell to uncover, right? It's just pumping out, hey, if you're going to be a patriot, you do these things. If you're going to be, true this or true that, you do these things. And so they're hoping to inspire the lone wolves. So there's no connection, material or real connection back to them. And so I think, and again, I mean, not saying that this is all a terrorist operation, but, in a way it kind of is. So I think that this is why President Trump is going to take up the whole unity thing too, because really he has such a megaphone and platform that if he starts really pushing a lot of that, everybody already knows what he thinks about everything else, right? But if he's like, hey, now let's come full stop here, let's bring it in, huddle as Americans, as people, right? I think it's not going to end everything. Obviously, you have the fence sitters and you have the crazies, the irreconcilables. We learn all about that. You gotta, the irreconcilables. You're not going to bring back the ones who are clearly made up their mind, who are radical. You're not going to bring them back. But the ones who are fence sitters, are going to come over. They're going to hear what he's saying. And I think never underestimate the power of some leadership like that to bring people together. He's an amazing communicator, amazing with his visual presentation of things as well too. So I mean, that's why I said a lot of success, and I think that's going to make a difference. I really do. Will there be more? I think they're going to stop a lot of attempts. I'm hoping we don't have the spectacular event as we talked about, because we know what would be very effective is, some type of attack like that. I don't even want to say anything because we're all trained people. I don't want to say what would work, so I'm not going to go
Right.
there.
Yeah. It's so tough. And that's why everything is so tough as well, man. Like it's tough not to be a conspiracy theorist. It's tough not to look at these things. So you're telling me, this young man is 20 years of age. He was he fancied computers. He was in his computer club, and you tell me he had zero social media presence. Nothing. Not a single thing. Okay. That's highly unbelievable to me, but hey, I'll accept it. Now the FBI has his phone. They came out before they even looked at his phone, before they could gain access to it. They were like, hey, we think he acted alone. How do you know? How do you know that he acted alone? You don't have access to his computer. You don't have access to his phone yet. So what are we talking about? He acted alone. When you start doing these things, it further degrades. And again, in today's environment, the information is too readily available. People can call you out on that nonsense way too quickly now. And I think that's the real danger that the Dems are in, and the real danger from the left, as opposed to going like, hey, we got to look at everything. We got to burn this stuff to the ground. The Secret Service has got to go away. We have to prevent more of these attacks. The more that they hang on, the more that they gaslight, just like you're saying, Ben, that's drawing more and more people over to the Trump side. And I'll tell you what, if he can just stay on message, and go, hey, I was the guy that was shot at. I do want to turn the rhetoric down. I'm not going to attack them. I'm going to say, if you want to stop stuff like this, vote for me. Look at how they're talking to me. I'm still here. I want you to vote for me. I think that is going to pull people over. And as you gaslight, and as the lies are happening in real time, like, and they're apparent. We can see when you're lying. We can tell when you say that, oh yeah, no, everything was totally secure. That was local law enforcement. And then I have the security like on air, on live TV, for the Secret Service chairwoman to go, or the head of the Secret Service to go, well, we were supposed to have people up there, but we knew that the shooter was there for actually for 26 minutes and did nothing about it. And he climbed onto the building where our sniper teams, it was a police staging area, and sniper teams were in there. He climbed on that building, and then one of the snipers took a picture of him, and then a bunch of civilians did too. But like, listen, we couldn't have prevented this.
Now,
That's why I don't think
Wrong
you're
answer.
yeah. I don't believe you at this point, right? And I think that is going to swing a lot of voters, especially when you juxtapose a great unified message from Trump against all those things. Oh, he lied in the debate. Okay, well, they're lying to you about who shot me and why. So which lie is worse?
Now, you guys can disagree with this, but do you guys think DEI had anything to do with this nonsense? Because this is just my 2 cents. Again, I don't speak for the panel. It's just my 2 cents. I think when it comes to military type positions, such as head of the FBI, head of the CIA, head of DHS, it's my opinion that those roles should go to not General Milley, but to military type leaders, whether they're generals or guys like Jake, because we have the experience, we have the knowledge, we've done it downrange. That's just my 2 cents. So when it comes to those key positions where a competent leader could have definitely could have affected the way that situation was ran. What are you guys' thoughts?
I'll just say off the top of my head, I think it's a lack of leadership and accountability and enforcement. It's all the way bad. I'll say, I know plenty of female Marines who would have whacked that person in a heartbeat. ID hands, right? There's a person not on our team on the roof with a weapon. What are we doing? Getting blasted. That's what they're doing. Like, done.
Right.
Point, period, paragraph. Maybe they would have said, hold on, let him do his speech a little bit. But as soon as he gets that thing shouldered, he's gone. Hostile act, hostile intent, ID hands, everything's matching, gone. And then we can continue with the program. Everything is clear. Continue your speech. You're good. I mean, right. I think so. Possibly, right? Possibly with that, but I don't have any facts. I don't have any evidence to really weigh in on that. What I think is, no matter what, who you put in there had to be a competent individual at some point. But lacks accountability and enforcement of standards, right? And Jake's saying, no, I know, but
You all right, Jake?
I'm getting ready. I'm going ham,
disagree,
bro.
homie.
I'm going ham, yo. So Ben, I gotta say this, okay? I gotta say this. If you so fat,
keep it clean,
that you gotta wear suspenders to hold up your pants, then you too fat to be on a presidential detail. Okay? And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go to Somalia and the Somalia Mile, right? If there was an Army Ranger that looked like she did, man or female, he ain't in the regiment no more.
You get RFF.
Okay? I know I saw one fat SEAL in my whole time in, like a SEAL that you like, holy, this dude's fat.
Come on.
But he was a SEAL.
They say the skinny SEAL does not survive the winter. I've heard that many times.
Listen,
but I'm saying in the oceans, no?
This was an East Coast guy, huh?
But my point is, like, DEI, to Jay's point, DEI, whatever, DEI is stupid. It's the worst thing in the world. If they're not capable, they can't get the job. If they're white, black, purple, they better be capable to get the job. I don't know if anybody on that detail was capable.
But I have a question though. If you're a Secret Service agent, not the leader, I'm talking about specifically about the leader and the lack of prosecution of a clear target.
Yep.
But what about the agent? They're there to protect, right? To jump in front of bullets. So therefore, if you have more mass, aren't you more effective?
Oh man, you know what?
I'm bringing you guys along with that one, right?
Fat doesn't do much for bullets, bro. Fat's not a much. It has been proven to be not that good of an inhibitor, right? Like, but let me say this. Okay?
I knew I'd wind you up with that one, Jake.
White, black, fat woman. Okay, it don't matter. You pick anybody out of that crowd, any of the Secret Service agents. You got people flagging people with guns. You got guys with M4s looking around. The sense of urgency, and Aaron, I said this in the immediate jump when we started last time. Everybody, I want everybody to take a second and go pull up the Ronald Reagan shooting. Go pull it up, okay? 1.7 seconds, just like Aaron said, 1.7 seconds. Hey, Didi Mao, we gone, okay? Yeah. We're talking about minutes on the X, and even then, our exfil looks like a slug on hot cement. That mug ain't going nowhere, man. They strolled out of there. Trump raising the fist. This was the best thing. Whoever put their hand in front of his head for protection, they should just chop their hand off. They should be a mortar.
Those are my favorite parts. The hand above the head.
The hand, right? Like. Okay.
That's in someone's SOP. That's in like the tactical training manual.
I want to go back to SOP. Show me
hand above the head.
Show me in the Secret Service where they're teaching people to put their hands in front of people's faces for protection.
I bet you there's a manual, some manual somewhere.
Well, where's the blanket? They ain't have a ballistic blanket, right? Like, you tell me, right? What, like, so I just go back to this. Yeah. It was so much incompetence that I don't care what we talk about, DEI, fucking aliens, the space shuttle, a solar eclipse, it don't matter. There was so much incompetence here. Somebody with a wrist rocket from 130 yards was able to take off a piece of Donald Trump's ear, and it didn't matter because the incompetence was so gross. I mean, the dude could have threw a rock. You know what I'm saying? Somebody in the crowd killed Donald Trump with a rock. That's how bad it was.
Yeah. And so for, the Secret Service, again, like, of course, the mainstream media has come out and said, oh, everybody's hyper-focusing on DEI and they're using their misogynistic tactics to blah, 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 blah. Listen, we're critiquing your job. It has nothing to do with it. We look at your own website, from the Secret Service website. They've got our commitment to diversity, reasonable accommodation, personal assistance, no fear act, affirmative action plan, anti-harassment program. The Secret Service came out and they said they wanted 30% females by 2030 for their diversity. Why? Why do you need that? Does it make you more lethal? Or are you better? When you look at the performance of the two Secret Service agents, couldn't holster her weapon. We've got them losing weapons. We've got, clear pictures of both female agents on that stage cowering behind the principal. Like the most damning, I'll tell you what, it was a hilarious meme, but it's like the wage gap. And you see like the three Secret Service agents huddled and hugging Trump, like the three dudes, like physically on him. And like 5 feet back behind them, cowering behind the podium and behind that group of people is another Secret Service agent with her gun drawn. Okay. And it says the wage gap. Like they drew a line between the two of them. Like that is damning. Okay. And when we look at your program and you tell us you're hiring people and you put somebody in at the head that had no business being the head of the Secret Service, Jill Biden just liked her, fake Dr. Jill Biden just liked her. And then you look at the performance of the females on there. Also, Donald Trump is 6'3", like 245. The two people that were actually like protecting Donald Trump, they were too small. And then they were tactically inefficient. That is the beef here. So then when we look at it and we go, okay, well, why were they hired? Why were they there? Why was a fourth of his detail women that didn't come up to his nipples, that lost their guns, that couldn't holster it, that were screeching and not helping? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? What are we doing? Like, why is it not okay?
I got one for you, Aaron. So I'm gonna tell y'all a quick one. This is a good one. So one of my guys, right? You know, when you first check in to the units that we all worked in, like you're stepping into prison. There's a lot of anxiety. It's a scary environment, okay, to say the least. So I give my young guys this speech, like, hey man, you're gonna go, it's gonna be scary, you gotta fight through it, you got a problem, call me, but like get ready to perform every day and you know, you gotta perform. So they had a little dude in a platoon, and like there was a lot of beef because he was little. And I'm saying like 140, like 5'7", 140. And you know, he was kind of sniveling a little bit, and they were like, oh, you know, and he got rolled in SQT, and there was a bunch of drama. And so they came to work one day, and Chief was like, told the two biggest dudes in the platoon, go put your gear on, full battle rattle, get all your shit, go to Army, get your gun, come back here. He said, all right, hey, Billy, pick Joe up, carry him to the grinder.
Yep.
Billy couldn't get him off the ground, right? It's okay. Hey, Billy, go pick up Susie over there, full battle rattle. Couldn't pick him up, couldn't get him off the ground, right? Tried to drag him. Couldn't get him down the stairs, dragging him. Couldn't get him down the stairs. Couldn't get him out of the platoon hut to the stairs. Chief said, okay, appreciate it. Thank y'all. Chief was taking pictures the whole time. Went downstairs. They had the whole Chief's mess sitting up there in the boarded his ass out of the teams like 2 hours later. Unable to meet the standard. Okay? Like that's what we're talking about here, Aaron. Like when you work in a world where people have guns and you are a gunfighter, if you cannot meet the standard, you cannot do the job.
It's got to be meritocracy. DEI means didn't 100%. Earn it. Like didn't earn it.
Dan, I know you got to punch out. Any last words before you punch out?
No, I mean, I agree with what Jake is saying. I remember one a guy who influenced me, you know, coming up. He was Vietnam SEAL, and just said he was like making the case for, he's like, why you have to be jacked and strong. And he was talking about pulling guys in a helicopter in Vietnam as they're all getting shot up, and he's getting shot through his shoulder and his arm. And he's like, you know why I could pull them in? He goes, because I had fucking guns. That's why. He's like, you know, he's talking about how strong his arms were and everything. And he said it gave him the extra oomph. And so, I mean, you know, it's a seriously savage business at points. It's not drones and all this bullshit people see. It is a physically demanding warrior up close and personal job when it comes to those engagements. And so, you know, I think we have to keep that in mind. But that's all I got, fellas. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Thanks, later, Ben. Later, bro.
All right, take care, Ben. We'll transition to a different topic real quick, guys. Now, this one is for, since again, we want to better everybody that watch this platform. Jake, if you're the shooter's father right now, what's going through your mind, and how do you, like, what are you telling your family members? Like, what are you telling your other kids? That's one question. And what advice would you have for the fathers that are within households around the fucking country that might possibly be raising the next fucking domestic terrorists?
So here's what I'm gonna say. I don't have the person's name, but you know there was two parents that stopped a domestic terrorist attack maybe about 6 months ago, a year ago. So their son was acting a little crazy. They kind of were spying on him a little bit. They looked in his phone. They found a manifesto. and they called the FBI and they said, come get our son right now. Okay. I'm going to say this, Jay, because I pray that I'm doing a good enough job raising my kids right now, but I got young kids, right? I, I'm at a loss for words of what I would do if one of my sons went and tried to, commit or kill the president. First thing, I would be pissed that the motherfucker failed. Okay, like I'm just gonna tell
You
you that.
can't.
Like
You can't. You
I'm just
can't
gonna
say
tell
that.
you that, Aaron.
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna be
Cancel.
honest with you.
That's it.
I'm
Great
not
podcast,
saying.
everybody.
Hang on, listen, Aaron. Here's what I'm saying, and I'm gonna tell you where it came from. My dad told me, if you're gonna be a criminal, be the best criminal in the world. Okay, you do one job. If you're gonna rob banks, you rob one bank, and that's it. Okay. Now I never went down the criminal lifestyle. I didn't take that path. But my first inclination is, okay, why did we fail? But more importantly, like, and this is where I think about stuff that's kind of like out there in left field. I got a heroin addict for a kid. Okay, what am I gonna do? I know it. I talked to my wife about it. I'm packed up. I'm moving to Montana. We're living in the middle of fucking nowhere. If I can't get him right, then I'm gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna help him out. Transition into the next lifestyle. Okay, but I didn't raise heroin addicts. I'm not trying to raise them, right? So I'm gonna liken it to that, Jay, because I'm gonna be honest with you. For me to even think about one of my kids being the shooter on this roof, taking a shot at Trump, like that's one of those. Like you heard about
It's a nightmare, dude.
The dude down here in Texas left his 18-month-old in the car.
Playing PlayStation.
Yep, playing PlayStation, went in the
He
house.
should. I'll say this plainly: he should die. Somebody should walk in and they should kill him. I saw that story and it made me sick to my stomach. I can't believe it.
No, I'm talking about the guy that left his kid 18 months in the car, and then he came out. The police were there, and his son was dead as all get out. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Hey, can I go in the house real quick?" He went in the house, blew his head off.
I didn't. I wasn't tracking it.
There's a case down here where
the
dad walked in the house and blew his head off. Man, like I'll tell you.
Well, good.
The Japanese got it right, man. Sometimes there is justified suicide. Okay, and I'm telling you, like, I mean, I don't know. I live a free, carefree lifestyle. I would just go back to, man, like I'll be crushed, bro. Like I don't even know how I would deal with it. It's one of those things where I don't know, man. Like I don't know. Like I might just pack all my shit up and move to fucking Brazil and never be seen again. Like I can't be in America no more. Like I raised a treasonous kid. Like it goes back to Jay. Like I got to look back at myself because I raised that kid, and I don't know, but I got young kids right now. I know I hear a lot of parents say, I raised 7 superstars, and I have one of those 7, or I have 8 kids, and I raised 7 superstars, and the other kids in jail and prison, right? Like I don't know what I did differently. I don't know. I'm too young of a parent to be like, man, this is how I would feel if my son was the shooter, right? Like, and I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but
no, it's not, because the intention behind this was like I want these men to understand that these kids, like, they're not just being shitted out 20 years old and they're going to, like, it came from somewhere. Somebody within that household failed as a leader, as a father. And the more we are weaponizing our fucking thoughts on social media and getting all upset, and I'm like, dude, why don't you turn inwards and look at your house and make sure you're not raising the next motherfucker that's going to do this, right? You're expending all your energy on social media and getting upset, and you're in the fucking comment section, and I'm like, dude, focus on your household.
Yeah.
Because somewhere around the country, like there's another kid, you know what I mean, that needs you to pay attention to him, or he's going to get the attention some other way.
And it may not be the president. You got all these school shootings, these kids, right? Like Uvalde, little 18-year-old kid, just kind of disenfranchised, like, bro, like I tell everybody, man, like you're responsible for you. That's me. And I'm responsible for all 5 of the people in my house. And so if my kid, like I just happened yesterday, we at the YMCA, my oldest son gets a 15-minute timeout from the water slide, right? No big deal. He stepped in front of the cone, they gave him a 15-minute timeout. But I said, is that a precursor to something greater. So I made sure I had a conversation with him. First of all, we're Swigs. I know I'm the pot calling the kettle black. I've been in a lot of problems, but I'm going to raise you to be better than I was. I know that. Okay, explain to me what happened at the top of the stairs. He said, well, I was just kind of messing around. I jumped in front of the cone, and it was my third time, and I've had those situations. I got fired from a bike rally because I was doing kickouts on my bike, and I just kept doing kickouts. Okay, I've been there. I understand what it means. But I'm having a conversation with him at 12 about a fucking cone so that I don't have to have a conversation to him at 20 about a fucking president. Right?
Well, that's the point, is because radicalization starts at home. We say in the military space, recruitment starts at home. Radicalization starts at home as well. So you look at it's a bit of a cultural divide. So, Jake, we come from a bit of a different generation here where I completely connect with you. What we're seeing here is we're seeing essentially the rise of the iPad kids. These kids that have started, living their entire lives online and engaging in that space, and they've had a smartphone for their entire lives. Well, they're having kids now. Those kids are raising kids. You know what I mean? Like they're producing kids out in this world. So at home, I think the first thing that you really have to do is like, hey, so first things first, I try not to like, I almost, I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. The 18-year-old is brilliant. She's in pre-law and she's crushing it. The 16-year-old wants to go into medicine and he's also crushing it. I don't claim, that I've done anything right there. What I will say is that my daughter and I have had some very in-depth conversations about stuff like Palestine, free Palestine, right? All this other nonsense that's happening in the shows, the social issues that she's been dealing with. If I tell my daughter how it is that I personally feel about those things, if I'm trying to raise this young man by telling him, well, this is how I feel, and this, I'm very passionate about it, getting into an argument with my son, dude, I've already lost. I need to teach him how to critically think, not what to think. He is automatically going to agree with what I say as his dad. He's going to be like, oh, wow, my dad hates X group. My dad hates X thing. My dad doesn't feel like this about this issue. Well, I do too. That's just inherently what it is. If you're, instilling those morals, those cultures, those values, that starts at home. You don't, for these people to just be like, and Jay, that was a great point. Like these people don't just show up in the world at 20 years old. They've had 20 years of grooming. They've had, 20 years of time to figure out who it is that they are as a person. And, I don't necessarily ascribe. Sometimes you have, a son or a daughter that makes their own horrible, horrific choices. And and maybe it did come out of nowhere. Maybe you didn't see it coming at all, but there is some, onus of responsibility for the parents to be like, hey, let's have a talk. Like I notice you're reclusive, you're not talking to anybody, you're home alone a lot. You can't let that kid just stew in his room for 8 to 10 hours getting into whatever it is they're getting into. Like radicalization starts at home, and teaching kids what to think is the first problem. If you look, you can look at any social issue out there, and I'll use this one because it's hyperbolic, but you look at the number of transgender or LGBTQ parents that produce transgender or LGBTQ offspring, it's through the roof. I mean, it is huge. So when you look at that, you're like, oh, wow. So exposure to these ideas early in life will lead somebody to pick something because of the exposure early to life and the constant re-exposure of it. You can apply that to anything. You can apply that to political, radicalization. You can apply that to feelings about different minority groups. You can apply it to whatever you want. It starts at home. And unless you teach someone how to think critically, I think you're in the wrong. But again, that's not my kid. So I don't know what to say. And boy, I can't wait for, 18 years or 19 years and 6 months, because we'll find out if I'm screwing this one up. You know what I mean? Like I got a case study. We can start it right now. We'll see.
Oh man. So now we'll hit this last topic and then we can wrap it up, guys. We've been at this 1 hour now, and the chat session the chat section is actually on fire. There's a bunch of Aaron supporters in here. It's amazing.
Are they calling
good.
for my head yet?
That's not
no,
weird. Oh goodness. No, that's not good, guys.
Are we gonna answer some questions on the chat, Jay?
Yeah, we'll answer a couple of them, but no, they love Jake. They're like, let Jake free. They're like, don't censor Jake.
Free my homie Jake.
Now, what would you guys say to all because it's disturbing, because I've seen a lot of videos online of multiple people on multiple outlets saying that this is a stage event and that it was fake. Like it's taken me a while to wrap my head around it. I'm like, dude, no one wants to stage getting their fucking head shot off, right? Like I'm like, Where is this coming from? What are you guys' thoughts about this?
Hey, well, so first of all, first and foremost, Alex Jones had to pay $1.1 billion for saying that Sandy Hook was not real. Okay. Every single person I don't understand how it is that we're in this environment where like I'm old enough to remember Alex Jones getting a $1.1 billion for saying Sandy Hook was staged. It was a false flag. That's what he got hit for, right? Anybody out there that's saying that right now, I don't understand why they are not subject to the same exact penalties and the same exact thing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then number two, like that's again, it's a bridge too far. Like, okay, how? How is it? It doesn't even make any sense to say. It's been quite frankly just disgusting, right? Like it just the cynicism that you need less than 24 hours after probably I mean, it's and I say this as a guy that's lived through. I've said this like 5 times now, and maybe it's stupid of me to even say it, but I think this is probably the biggest political event of our lifetime. Like of my adult life, this is the biggest. Like I've never seen it. I didn't see Kennedy get shot. I didn't see any of these other folks get shot. I think this is probably the biggest political event we've ever lived through. And to watch people less than 24 hours later go, "Oh no, this is totally staged. It's so that he could look better for his election." Like, how stupid and how cynical do you need to be to say that right afterwards? Like it dumbfounds me. I can't. It's shocking.
Aaron, I want to say this. Like, man, you got so many people out there right now that can just say whatever they want on the internet. And then the right and the left can take what they're saying and magnify it through all this media that, like, it's one of those deals where it's just astronomical to me that we're going to sit here and claim that some guy staged a shooting and managed to shoot his ear off. A solid 2 millimeters difference.
Right.
Like it's just one of those things where we're at the point now where conspiracy theories and the internet, too small a microcosm of people have too big an impact on whatever they want to have an impact on. And I'm with you. I think it's embarrassing, man. Like for somebody to say, "Oh, Uvalde didn't happen," or Sandy Hook didn't happen. Like that's like that may be one of the most non-American things you could possibly do, right? Like you're degrading the loss of all of those families. You're degrading the loss of what actually happened. And then like I look at this and I'm just like, man, like there's so many losers that have never done anything that are out there just chucking spears at everybody. And I'm just like, okay, great. It didn't happen. It's kind of one of them things where I'm like you're saying, man, like, that's the best thing you got to do today?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you, it's going to sound so stupid for me to say, but it just makes me sad. I read that and it's like for a million different reasons, that is not a tenable philosophy or, option that you should even explore. Because of everything that we see here. Like, I'm willing to talk about whatever conspiracy theory you want. And the more information that comes out and, the more video and the more footage that comes out, listen, I get it. Like I'm in that rabbit hole right here with you. And I'm watching I have a couple friends that are hilarious, by the way. They're like, some of these people, they're like, listen, man, you connect way too many dots. You think everything's a conspiracy. Everything has nefarious stuff behind it. And I'm like, okay, well, me this time, I'm like, all right, I'm going to wait. Like until proven otherwise, man, the Secret Service failed. We got lucky because this kid was rushed for whatever reason and took a shot and he barely missed and it nicked him. And we're going to go on from there. And until proven otherwise, or until I see some other information, I'm just going to hold what I got. Those same friends have hit me up and they're like, dude, did you see this video? How did this happen? How did this happen? How does this happen? This has to be a setup. This has to be this. And then they're like, and then people are saying it's staged. It's quite obviously not staged. I'm like, wow, that sounds very conspiratorial of you for a guy that used to call me conspiratorial. So, but I mean, and again, it's because of the crazy timeline that we're living in. It's because of these crazy things. Nature versus nurture, the raising of these kids. It's the zeitgeist right now. It's just wild. It's a wild thing to try to wrap your head around, and it just breaks your brain to look at it.
And I'm gonna say this, Aaron, and you're saying the timeline, right? Yeah. We knew more in 10 minutes. So 10 minutes after the shooting, let's say an hour after the shooting.
Oh, we had minute by minute.
Oh, we knew more.
We had video minute by minute. People were slowing it down. We could see the bullet. We knew who was hit. We knew everybody, everything.
Like we knew more in the first hour than they knew 10 years after JFK got shot. Like the general public knew.
30 years.
30 years, right? Like right now, right? Like And it goes back to like it's 2024. Everybody's got a camera on their phone. We got pictures and video of the dude on the roof. We got the red-haired dude saying he was screaming at the police on a BBC interview. I was screaming at him for 5 minutes. They didn't even do nothing. There's a dude on the roof with a gun. Like there's a gun up there. He's like, I'm like, and so you're like talking about the conspiracy and all this other stuff, and you're like, man, whatever happened, it happened, and it sure looked bad.
Yeah. Aaron Love Hate Club, what's up? I love seeing you in the chat, but you're right. It's not a conspiracy, it's pattern recognition. Once you start noticing these things and you're like, hold on, the same guys that said that, the Vegas shooting, the biggest mass shooting, not including Chicago, because there are more mass shootings in Chicago. Over Chicago, July 4th, 109 people shot, 19 of them killed. That was over a single weekend. So Chicago has the world's biggest mass shooting every single weekend. We just don't bother saying anything about it. The same organization that couldn't come up with any sort, like we had no video of the Vegas shooter. He carried, several bags worth 400 pounds of multiple rifles up to a room, somehow opened a window, somehow shot at a rate of fire that sounded like a belt-fed machine gun, but we insisted it wasn't, but there were no pictures, and then everything got deleted. You're telling me that's the people that are going to investigate this? That's why people are skeptical. That's why they immediately jump to, when the FBI says that, it's breaking, earlier today, and this is the only kind of like breaking news that I'll put out there, because this is going to be, it's going to be wrong in the second that I say it, and then there'll be new information, in an hour, and I'll look stupid, but I've done that for 5 years talking into a microphone. So whatever, but they were like, oh yeah, he drove a Hyundai Sonata and that was it. His neighbor noted the night before the shooting that there was a white van mysteriously parked out in front of the family home where they said there was bomb making materials. Okay, so if he drove a Sonata an hour and a half north, essentially, to where the rally was to go commit this heinous act, where did that white van come from? Why did the FBI confiscate it? What was inside of the white van? They said he had rudimentary bomb making materials inside of his car when they found it. They also found bomb making materials and stuff in that van and at the house. Okay, well, where did the van come from? Why, like, when you look at these things and you're like, wait a sec, when ABC News reports that the Secret Service and local law enforcement had eyes on this sniper for 26 minutes before they did anything, that's when people are like, hold on, what else aren't you telling me? Why are all these, and you start pulling this thread and nothing makes sense and nobody's getting fired and nobody is doing anything that looks like accountability. That's where you push people into these areas. And maybe it's by design. Maybe it is by design to fracture and further divide the country and all these other things. And I'll tell you what, it's hard to remain level-headed. It's hard to remain at least in some sense of reality here when everything seems to be points. Like, do you not think that the government would kill a president because they killed JFK? Like, I'm sorry, that is a fact at this point. I just don't know how to say it any differently. So they've done it before. And so that's why people look at it and go, oh, like the time you said you didn't shoot JFK and George H.W. Bush, so the senior Bush, head of the CIA, he said for 25 years he was not in Dallas. He was in Dallas during the shooting. Why is that? That's pretty crazy. So you look and you're like, okay, well, you've lied to me before. False flags have happened before. Why does this feel like one? And then you get no answers. And that's how people get to the area where everything's a conspiracy. And I say that from being in the rabbit hole. Like I say that in the rabbit hole, not as a guy that's like, oh, all you conspiracy theories. I am one. I don't trust anything these people say, and it's for all those reasons.
Yeah. All right. Mason Young has another question. He wants to know, what do you think will happen if Trump survives this attempted assassination, goes all the way through November, and he doesn't get selected to be president? What do you think will happen to the country?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, like, again, we've talked about the systematic dismantling of trust in the institutions. Number one, go out and vote. Like, I understand how people don't trust voting and, watching the movie 2000 Mules. And listen, I get that people don't have trust in the voting system. I don't care if you don't trust it. If we have 200 million Americans go out and cast a ballot for Donald Trump, that's too big to fake. If you early vote, you use mail-in ballots, and you get a friend and you take 10 friends with you to vote, and you convince those people that are kind of on the fence, and you're like, hey, you see what they're doing to him, you see what this administration has done, now let's talk about the record. Can I get you to vote conservative with me? Can I get you to go put a vote for Trump and Vance? I think that's step one. I think if all of that, and there's a whole bunch of steps after that. I think if we get to an election that President Trump doesn't win, number one, people are going to question it because the 2016 and 2020 election, 2022 election, especially if you're looking at places like Georgia and Arizona, I'll tell you what, it's hard to believe that was a free and fair election that had no tampering at all, right? Voter tampering, vote tampering. Happens all the time. It's happened in every single election. We do it to other countries. You know, there's reason to believe there's some level of it. I think that is a bridge that I don't even want to talk about. Like that Mason, that's a great question. I think that there's going to be animosity, and I think we're going to need somebody to lead through that time. But I think, you know, number one is don't let it get to that point. It's just like UFC fight. Don't let it go to the judges. Don't let it go to somebody that can make the decision for you. Make it too big to be denied. Make it undeniable, as opposed to, you know, this close thing. But as far as to answer your question directly, what do I think happens if we get to November and Trump loses the election? Buckle up, because that's going to be a wild one.
I couldn't agree more. Like if Trump loses and Biden wins, I think you're going to see your girl Kamala as the president within a year, or they're going to have to do something. Maybe she steps down as vice president. They name another vice president. But the anarchy that's going to ensue in the current state on, 17 July, I just think it's going to be really bad. And if the country keeps going in the direction it's going, i.e., the whole California voting and all this stuff going on in California, if that kind of sentiment keeps getting pushed east, and all the stuff that's going on in politics right now, I don't think we got much longer. I'm the big revolutionary guy. Like, I don't think we're gonna have much longer. I don't know if we get out of this next term, if they, if the Democrats get elected, not necessarily the Democrats, if Trump doesn't get elected and they elect, Biden, and they pull some shenanigans and name a new president and all this, like, I just think it's bad for the country, man. It's bad for the country. It's bad for America. America is not on strong ground right now. We're the best country in the world, strongest country in the world.
And the history of the world.
Yeah, like we look like we're walking around on stilts, like we're shaky as all get out right now. And, if for no other reason than to shore up the country and kind of bring some stability to it, like, I just think it's going to be just straight pandemonium if Trump doesn't win. Meaning, we're going to have the voter fraud stuff back in play. We're going to have the rhetoric of January 6th or January 7th. Like, it's just going to be bad. Mason, that's a great question, man. You had me on my butt for a minute. I had to think about it. I'm glad Aaron went first.
And that is correct, Aaron Love Hate Club. Brandon Herrera did lose to a certain PAC. He did not lose a political race. He lost to funding by a certain PAC. You were 100% correct. And we can talk about that. I love that certain PAC. I love being able to talk about them in the public. Maybe we'll do that on another one, but you're correct.
I'll tell you what, I think it was last night, I watched my latest House of Dragon episode, and during that episode, of course, the king, or that the power that's controlling that city, they underestimate the small folks, as they like to call them. In this scenario, we need to understand that we, the people, the citizen of this country, we have the power, and we have been underestimated, right? It's time to take that power back and get out there and vote. And just remember, like, the politicians that we hate so much and we call them corrupt, like, we're the one that put them there. We voted for them.
Yeah.
Like, they're in power because of us, so
goodness.
we can take them out, right? We can vote them out of office. Don't complain and bitch about, eating a shitty omelet when you're the one that cooked it. Right? Like, it's your fault. And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we understand that, the sooner we can go to work and start changing things.
Yeah.
But as we get ready to wrap this up, you guys have anything else to add?
No, man, go to Vote for America. So www.vote, the number 4america.org. It's an organization that I care very much about. It's mobilizing people like veterans, 2A supporters, hunters, farmers. If you look at those specific populations, especially when you look at the swing states, right? So Nevada is a blue state, just barely. It's purple. It's turning pretty red, and I'm happy to be here to help it turn red. But if you look at the numbers right there, we only lost Nevada by about 58,000 votes. There are like 200,000 unregistered 2A, like, gun owner, veteran dudes. Like, if just a fourth of those had registered and taken a friend with them, we would live in a conservative world from now until the end of time. Okay. I understand that you don't want to vote. I got it. I understand your distrust in it, but we got to try everything. We got to pull every lever that we possibly can. And I swear, until election day, I will be telling you to go vote. And I will be telling you out of the same head of mine that goes, I don't know, it kind of feels like voting doesn't matter. And I understand why people feel like that. Like, dude, I get it. Go vote. Don't care. Be undeniable, especially in those swing states. There are 300,000 unregistered gun owner hunter dudes that live in Georgia. We lost Georgia and the 2022 red wave didn't happen because of 11,000 votes. Now, I know the election fraud is still bubbling in Georgia, and there's a lot of interesting information there. But if a tenth of those folks had registered and voted, we'd be having a different conversation. So please go to vote4america.org, sign up, take a friend, talk to your friends that are sitting here going, man, I don't know what's wrong with America. And be like, well, I don't think Democrats are all of your problems, and I don't think Republicans are the fixes to all your problems. But I can tell you how to vote to where we can start getting right again. And I think it's a conservative down ballot ticket.
I'm gonna make it even simpler than that. Just take action. Right? Don't
Yes,
sit on
sir.
your couch. Don't sit on your computer. Go
Yes,
take
sir.
action, America. Right? Get off your couch. Go do something for America today. Go vote. Right? Go register to vote. Drive 4 old people to go vote.
Yep.
Take action. You know, I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. You know, whatever you are, purple, white, green. You know, take action, man. We're this America. We've been made on hard work, sweat, and toil. Like, go do something, right? Don't just sit on your couch. Don't sit there and surf the internet. Take action. Go be somebody. Make a difference.
All right, appreciate it, fellas. Folks, like I said, if you have anything else for us, hit up the comment section below. We appreciate you guys in the chat. Until next time, folks, take care of yourselves.
Deuces.
All right, take care, fellas.
Hey.